Our next tool we're going to take a look at in G Suite is Google Forms. Google Forms is a way for us to collect all kinds of data or take surveys, things like that. O365 has an equivalent called O365 Forms if you've used that in Microsoft. Generally speaking, Google Forms seems to be much more powerful and user-friendly, so we highly recommend using this. If I go to forms.google.com, I will end up on a site like this, just like in the other tools. It's a filtered view of my forms in my drive. I also have my template gallery with some things that are really beneficial for us as teachers, with a quiz setup, an exit ticket, assessments, or course evaluations. And then there are also other things you might need to do with your community working down below. As usual, we can go and create a form right where we want it. If we go to our drive and go to More and choose Google Forms, and from there we could also choose a template if we wanted to, or start with a blank. I'm starting with a blank here just to show you what that looks like. So to start with, you'll have a title. I've put in a title already, and you can put in a form description underneath. Once you get going, you just have questions stacked up that you work with. So this first question, I might start with, what's your first name? You'll see it just automatically changed to short answer. So the way this works is that it said, oh, you want a name? You're probably going to want a short answer. But there are lots of different kinds of questions we can choose from. So a short answer is just that. It's a short text box. A paragraph is a longer text box. These do not limit how much you can put in them, just how they display for the user. Multiple choice is a multiple choice question with only one answer that you can check. A checkbox is a list of answers where you can choose multiple choices. A drop down is a long list that you just want them to select one out of the drop down but not take up much space. File uploads allow people to add a file, a picture, or another file to your form and to send it to you. Linear scales let a user choose on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 to 7, 1 to 5. You can choose up to 1 to 10. A multiple choice grid is the same as multiple choice, but with recurring choices over and over for different questions. And a checkbox grid is similar, except they can choose multiple responses for each line. Date and time puts in a date and time, or a date and time picker, where people can choose the date or choose a time out of a list. This would be for things like scheduling appointments, return dates, preferred things like that. Once I have my first question in, if I needed to delete it, I can click the trash box. I can also make it required so that the form cannot be submitted without that answered. And there's always some things in this little drop-down box where I could add a description for that question if I needed. When I'm ready to add another one, I can just add a question by clicking the plus button. Now I could add another question. One potential use might be to get a question from a pre-made EQAO test. So I bring that back in, I could paste that question in, just edit that a little bit, and then if I choose a list of responses like this, where they're all in different lines, this might be in a spreadsheet, in another document, somewhere else you have it, and paste it, it divides them out into their own line. Again, I might need to do a little bit editing if I want to get rid of that bullet, but it gives me a chance to bring all those responses in very quickly. This is really helpful if you had a list of student names and you wanted them to select their names from a drop-down. You could just paste that in from a spreadsheet and it would put them all on a different line. Then you could change this to a drop-down question. So to preview how that looks really quickly, I can jump up to this eye up here, and that will let me preview what it looks like for my users. So there's my short answer, and there's my multiple choice where I can only select one of them, and then I would submit. You can see I made that question required. I didn't have an answer, so it won't let me submit the form. Other kinds of questions that I can add, if I add another one, I could choose a linear scale. And again, there's my choices. So I can pick how high this goes up. Start at 0, go to 1. And set that question and preview that. That's what a linear scale looks like. So they could choose a self-assessment level, something like that. Additionally, we can add titles or descriptions. So if we add a title or description, I could add this section And when I look at that, it just adds this little flag to delineate that section. So if you're dividing yours up into groups or parts of your form, you might do it that way. You can also add an image right into here, and you can search from your drive or online. If I took this Chromebook image and put that in, you'll see it just puts that image in. So maybe you want to ask a question about a specific image, about labeling something, about identifying something. You could put the image right in there and do it that way. You can also embed YouTube videos or create sections. Creating sections will allow you to subdivide your form up into separate pages. It will also allow you later to do branching. So if someone says something on one question, you could send them to a certain area. If they say something on another, you could send them to another question and branch it out. At the top of forms, you have some options up here. So you have a color palette that you can change the look and feel. You can also add your own image if you wanted to customize it. You have your preview button and you have your settings. In your settings, you've got some choices here. You could collect email addresses. This is helpful for teachers or other people, but not very helpful for students since their email addresses are all S numbers. It doesn't give you much information. You can restrict it to DDSB users. By default, it is. This will require a login before they can do their form. You can also limit it to one response if you want to. So if it's something where you don't want someone submitting more than one response, just check that box. You can also choose if students or respondents can edit or if they can see a summary of the other people's answers when they're finished. Under presentation, you can show a progress bar as they move along to show how far along they are. You can randomize the question order. You can have them have a link at the end to submit another response if it's something that they want to do over and over again, and you can customize what it says at the end. Finally, you can make a form a quiz. So if you make a form a quiz, you have some options to release grades right after to tell the user their grade. You could have it after manual review, which lets you review it and then release scores after you take a look at it and score them. And you can have a couple other options for your quiz down here. Once I make something a quiz, if I go into this question that has a multiple choice answer, I can click on answer key at the bottom to enter this view and tell which one is the correct answer. I can select multiple, as you can see, correct answers, and then I can set a point value for my quiz. Once that's all done, I just go back to edit question, and that is set up as a quiz question. Again, that will enable auto marking of multiple choices, and you could add in manual review for short answers. Once we're done with our form, we need a way to get it out to the users that we want to fill it out. Usually, the button in the upper right in G Suite says share. That's because we're trying to share that document and have them collaborate on it with us. In a form, this is different. We really want to send it out to people, and we don't want them collaborating. We really want them to give us their responses to the form that we've created with the questions that we've made on there. So they've changed that button to a send button just so that you understand the difference there. So if I click on send, by default, it's going to give me an email. Now I could type an email address to someone in here if I wanted to and send this email to them, and they would get that form to fill out. That's tedious if we have a lot of users, obviously, and for students, we don't have email in DDSB right now, so they would not be able to receive that email and get it that way. So what we want to do is click on this link button in the middle. There's that little hyperlink button. This is going to give us a link to fill out the survey. I can also shorten it if that's too long and ugly. However, it's still a little bit tough to type all those letters in exactly right to get to that form. This link is still a little bit ugly, so if I was going to post this online, I might take this and insert that as a hyperlink on a Google site, maybe into a OneNote class notebook or a Google Classroom poster for my students. If we're working in Google Classroom, we can actually just post the form file and it'll turn into an assignment that marks them as done when they're completed. You'll learn more about that if you're taking any of our Google Classroom training, either online or in person. So we can copy that, and that will give me that form. If I paste that into a new window, you'll see that it doesn't generate the form to edit, it actually generates the form to fill out. So there's my form that I can fill out, and then I can distribute to people and get their responses. Another great way to use a form is to collect your own information. So while previously we were looking at ways to give a form to other people and collect information from them, you may use a form to collect your own ideas or your own responses. An example of this would be something like this with math comments and observations. So for anecdotals or observations on the fly, you could create a form similar to this. All I did was I pasted student names in for my class. I named my math strands as a separate question with a drop-down. I gave an achievement level, I have comments, and I have a place to add a file. So once this is completed, I'll show you what this idea would look like. So in here, I would choose my student's name. I would choose the strand I'm commenting on, maybe choose an achievement level. I could type my comments, or if I was using my phone, I could dictate it using Siri or Google Assistant on an Android phone. And finally, if I add a file on my phone, I can actually take a picture of something in the class, or I can add a file from Drive in here to document that learning. Once this is done, and I click Submit, it brings me right back to Submit Another Response. This is a great way to collect those observations on the fly. Afterwards, you can see that I have responses. So once I have responses, I have this tab, and I can scroll through and see some of those responses. Some of these charts are helpful, some of them are not, but I can see all of my previous comments or observations. This is an okay way to look at these. I can even look at individual ones where I look at each comment individually. But if I have a lot of comments over time, that's not going to help me very much. The really beneficial way is to view the response in a sheet. So this is going to export everything to a Google Sheet, which then is live updated if I add more comments to the form, and this gives me a chance to filter. So now I could filter and just make it one student and look at all of just the comments about one student. And there's all my comments there. Oh, I had a couple of students chosen. There we go. So there's all my comments for Elaine. This would be really helpful when it came to reporting time or conferencing with that student to look at what's the trend, what's going on. These are all in chronological order, and I can see the strand, the achievement levels, and my comments over here. So just one other way to use forms in a way that you might not be thinking about as a standard way to use a form to collect information. All right, now go back to the D2L window and click on the Forms quiz to complete this section.